and then we'll start. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order and welcome you all to the March 2022 meeting of the Land Rules and Ethics Committee. And I believe we have a quorum. I'm just going to take attendance. Sylvia?
Here.
Sylvia, okay. Kelly?
Present.
Lisa?
I'm here.
Paul?
Present.
Steve?
Here.
Rosemary?
Here.
David?
Present.
Omar? Dan? Okay,
Present.
so one short, that's Omar. First item on the agenda is, well, it's and to welcome our guests. So will the guests who are present make themselves known and welcome us? Anybody want to share their presence?
Oh, so does that mean me?
Yeah, okay, that means you.
Oh, hi, I'm Karen Argenti. I'm just a member of the community watching the meeting.
And welcome. And we have Leona.
Yes, hi, sorry. Sorry, my name is Leona Tedden. I'm an applicant to the board. So I'm visiting the committees that sound interesting.
Well, hope we don't scare you off. Margaret,
Della?
that's Margaret Delray. See, yep.
Great. Margaret Della, Community Board 8.
Okay, and I think that's all we have as far as guests are concerned. And welcome to you all. So I'm maneuvering with this thing and getting myself more confused every time. Okay, again, I request a number of times. I hope the committee has read the materials I sent out, because I want to put a couple of these to bed tonight if possible. I want to discuss the draft guidelines. I want to discuss representing versus discussing. And as raised last month, I want to look at the whole issue of the mayor's commission on racial equity, I believe it's called. And the three items they're going to be putting on the agenda for the November ballot. I have here, yeah, over cover highlighted in yellow last month's minutes. Are there any comments about the minutes?
Yes.
If there are no comments, I will.
Yes, no, excuse me, I raised my
Motion to
hand. I'm
approve.
sorry. No, I raised my hand. Does it not
I'm
show that I raised my hand?
No, I'm looking at my screen, which is my shared screen.
Okay, so.
Marty, click on participants
Click
and you'll
on
get a big white rectangle. There you can see the raised hands.
Okay, thanks, David. Okay, Rosemary,
Okay, thank you, Marty. In your minutes, and it's 4C, under 4C, it's right there. Ms. Ginty noted that there were 3 ballot, and I brought it to the attention of you and to the screen committee that these existed. But it's the next sentence, and I wrote to you about this. It was suggested that LRE should review to see if we might adopt or adapt one or more that align with our objectives. That needs to come out. That needs to be deleted. I never said that, and I will explain why it is not appropriate for us to do that. Those of you who are on the board will remember well, I think, I hope, the last, no, it was two charter revisions ago, not the last one, 2 ago. It was the mayor's charter revision. The mayor had 4 proposals. One of the 4 proposals was term limits for community board members. It was voted, it was on the ballot, and one of our members raised a resolution opposing that ballot proposal. We very swiftly got a letter from the law department saying it was inappropriate for any community board to speak to an item that is on the agenda, on the ballot, already on the ballot.
Recording in progress.
I'm sorry, who's speaking over me? I'm sorry.
The computer just did.
Okay, fine.
Someone that,
So it was, if I could just keep it with, if people remember, and I hope so, we, the community board, are not allowed to take a position whatsoever on an item that is on the ballot. These 3 are on the ballot. We cannot adopt or adapt them to any of our objectives whatsoever. When they were being discussed, which, by the way, I have no memory whatsoever of this Charter Revision Commission having a hearing in the Bronx or any borough on what they were considering. That is when we could have, as a board or committees, talked about it and made suggestions. Once they're adopted and on the ballot, not allowed to. So that sentence has to come out of the minutes. We're not, and I would suggest in addition that the March minutes
I am going,
note that the community board cannot vote in favor, against, or any comment when an item is on the ballot. So 2 things, this should come out, and the March minutes should reflect clearly the tongue lashing we got from the law department.
I am going to agree and disagree with you at the same time. Second sentence, Ms. Ginty noted. Third sentence, it was suggested. It doesn't say Ginty suggested. It says it was suggested. It might have been me. And the idea is not to change any ballot or argue in favor of any ballot. The question is whether or not there are issues raised that we should adopt as issues for ourselves to pursue. Nothing to do with the ballot. And so I will acknowledge in the minutes that we are not to take a position relative to any ballot item, but we may choose to further, after we've read it, that there's something in the intent of the ballot item that we should be pursuing further than that.
Okay, okay, Marty, I'm gonna say that if that sentence remains, it is, as I read it, Ms. Ginty noted, and it was suggested, okay? If somebody else suggested it, then I want their name in there, because it wasn't me, okay?
Okay. I
Or
will do
simply
that.
say others suggested.
Yep.
It does imply
Fine.
that Rosemary said it.
I will change the minutes. I will amend the minutes to so reflect. Anything else on the minutes?
Just one thing more. I know we discussed in February, and it's not in the minutes, which is fine, but I'm going to raise it anyway because it was discussed. You had very diligently read the proposed legislation before the city council concerning the outdoor dining, the outdoor cafes. The 2 things, it was the city planning resolution and the separate legislation proposed. And you had read it and you had some comments, you had thoughts, and I remember praising you for having done that. That's great. And I had read it too, and I had comments. And the question was, where do we put these comments? And you suggested that it should be go to the chair of the board, who's going to take this over? Who's going to take whatever comments we read and maybe create a board position. I guess I think you raised the question with the board chair at exec or the community board or whatever, and she said she'd get back to you. I guess my question is, has she? Do we know where our comments should go? This is a February discussion, not in the minutes, but it was discussed in February. Do we know where your comments, my comments, anybody's comments should go?
At the moment, as you recall correctly, I raised it last week at the board meeting, asking her if she had made, she said she'd think about it. So the answer to your questions is no. I have no
Okay.
idea which committee is getting it. And I have no idea where to send my comments on the very issue.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not suggesting that you put it in the minutes, but I do remember it was discussed, and thank you. Thank you.
Well, I still have my notes, and when she decides which committee is going to be looking into that, and it'll be coming up a little later in tonight's meeting, when she decides, I will forward that information.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you.
Okay, motion to accept as amended. And I did the amendment while we were talking. I lost it. Where is it? Okay, Ms. Ginty noted that the former mayor's Racial Justice Commission composed 3 ballot items to appear in November 2022. Committee members suggested that LRE should review the items to see if the board might adapt one or more that align with our objectives. That's satisfactory?
If you're that's satisfactory, it clears up that I did not say that. I would just ask that in the March minutes, it be very clear that we're not allowed to vote on it. That's all.
Fine. Any motion to accept as amended?
Yes, me, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa. Anyone opposed? So by unanimous consent, these minutes have been approved. Let's see.
Marty, Steve has his hand up.
Chairperson's report.
Marty,
Okay, I can't
Marty.
see it. I hear. Okay,
it's okay.
Steve.
I'll alert you to the hands, but Steve does have his hand up.
great. Thank you. Steve?
Just a point of information. I'm just curious, what is the source, Rosemary, or if other people know, what's the source of the prohibition on the board taking a position on charter proposals, charter revision proposals?
Okay, I'll go back. No, I'll go back in time, Steve. It was.
I do remember the issue.
It is, and actually I suggested to Marty, he can get it from the board office. My files are outrageous, but it is a letter opinion, not a formal opinion, but a letter from the law department to all community boards.
That's right. Yep.
What we started sent a firestorm across the entire city.
Right.
And the law department sent a letter, a memo, to every community board. You are not allowed to voice an opinion at all on any item that is on the ballot. Before it's on the ballot, you can take any position, your board can review, but once it's on the ballot, community boards are cut off from taking a position. Did you remember that? I mean,
Yep.
maybe, actually, Marty, maybe we should ask the office to dig up that old law department finger wagging to us. Wouldn't be a bad idea, since this is coming up in November, not a bad idea to resurrect what we've been told already. Steve, do you remember that? Does
I
that?
do. I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chairman's report. Some of you may already know, Paul Ellis has chosen not to reapply to the board, and therefore, this month, in effect, is his last month as a board member. And so I've already expressed to Paul the fact that we'll miss him and thought that he was a great contributor to the actions of the board. And we all wish him well. So, thank you, Paul.
Marty, thank you very much.
Ooh,
It's been a privilege to be on the board. This is actually my last meeting, my last committee.
Oh, no.
So it's been a privilege to be on the board, to be on this committee, and to be involved in all the good work of this board over the years. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you all and remaining active in the important issues in the community. So thank you again.
Well, good luck to you and best wishes for your future.
Thank you.
say it so, Joe.
Marty,
And
I-
then Paul.
Yeah.
Is there a hand up I'm missing?
I do see a hand up.
Rosemary, you still up?
Yeah, no, it's up new. This is up new.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is, I think Paul's leaving this committee and the board. Really, it's my hope that it gets reflected in the minutes. I'm sure it will. Paul is an extraordinary member of this board, has been with us for many years, has been, when you think back to the housing committee, he created the housing pamphlet, oh my God, the amount of work that went into that and the value to the community in English and Spanish. He was perfection for doing that, a tremendous amount of work, and his committee deserves credit too. In addition, he was vice chair for a number of years, and I can speak to that. He was a rock, he was honest, he was hardworking, and then his work on the Law, Rules, and Ethics Committee. I guess not too often, I hope that those members of the board don't forget the amount of time and effort that community board members put to their work on the community board. If they do, look to what Paul Ellis did on this board, and then you will remember the amount of time and work and effort that is done on behalf of this community board and this community. And Paul, it is a loss for this board, this committee, everybody, for you to leave. But I'll stop at that. And it's my hope that these comments and other comments of committee members get recorded in the minutes for posterity. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out. Thank you.
Here,
Paul.
here.
Rosemary, thank you very much. Those are very kind words. I really appreciate it. And it was a privilege to work with you as in many capacities, but especially as when you were chair and I was vice chair.
Well, we'll miss you. Thank you for everything you've done. Great counsel you've always given.
Thank you, Lisa. Likewise.
Moving on. I sent each of you a communication that came from the Borough President's office wanting to remind us of the rules concerning anyone using their position as a community board member and running for office. And that doesn't mean that you can't say I'm a community board member, and this is my experience, but you cannot use any facility or speak on behalf of the board concerning someone's candidacy, either your own or somebody else's. And I just point out that it was sent to you. Any questions? We can discuss those later unless there's someone here is turning somebody in. Then the issue that keeps annoying and won't go away, though we try. Camelia is still hung up on the meaning of the the governor's change concerning when and how soon minutes and resolutions must be made public. And I cannot speak, and this is a slide she sent to the community board office. I cannot speak to the need to have minutes out in a timely fashion within 2 weeks, but I can speak to this whole concept of what is, when a resolution suddenly appears, the law doesn't say it must be 24 hours or it cannot be discussed. It says, and this is the conversation I had with COIB, oh, no, sorry, with COG, and they pointed out this phrase, to the extent practicable, a word that's driving me nuts. I repeated it so often. So if, for example, if land use meets on Monday night and there's a resolution that comes out of Monday night's discussion, then it's not practicable to have a resolution in the public 12 hours, 24 hours before the meeting took place. By the same token, if we believe that any resolution that may come forward should have community and board input before it's composed, then you would not send out a resolution in advance. So the fact that an item is to be discussed should be enough notice that something may come up. Again, practicable. If your meeting is 2 weeks before the board meeting, then it's not, then it certainly is practicable to have gotten the resolution out in time. And then she sent another one about the minutes, and we know about the minutes, and there's no argument about the minutes. And something we'll talk about a little later, minutes, discuss motions, proposals, resolutions, votes, and we'll discuss, I don't believe, based on my experience with both the Central Board of Ed and Community School Board 10, that minutes are supposed to be transcripts of all the conversations that took place and who spoke to it. And the suggestion that will come up from Sergio is that a whole host of statements are eligible to be attached later on. We shall talk about that. And I think we've done this. Any comment on this? I'll repeat it again for the board, but it seems it's been said and oversaid. And so I don't think there's a need to say it again and again. Now, I asked you to look at this problem that I had when reading the statement from the Conflict of Interest Board, which asked a member of Community Board 12 in Manhattan to pay a $1,500 fine because she crossed the line. In speaking to the board membership, she had disclosed, discussed, and didn't vote, but this apparently crossed the line, and she was deemed to have represented the organization for which she's employed. And it's illegal under a Conflict of Interest Board for someone to represent. Now, again, I don't know where the line is. I wrote to COIB asking for an explanation because I don't understand it. And the response I got didn't help me much. And so I asked particularly the attorneys on the committee to please help us understand it so that any board member who's in this position will know where that line is. Do any of the attorneys present have a comment? Please.
So at least from what they sent us, I think the prohibition is not, just read that paragraph that you have here, Marty. The community board, this is what they sent you, their email back, right, from the.
Yeah, but I sent all of you a copy of the case what do you call it, the disposition and the background information.
Mhm.
And I'm not hearing anyone acknowledging that they received it or read it. Margaret? The hand went down. Margaret?
Sorry, just trying to unmute myself. So, I mean, I guess the language to me, I think that in terms of Camelia's point, I do see that there is a consistency in the lateness of getting resolutions and that sort of thing. So the language of like when I'm gonna get it wrong, but basically when possible, it should be sent out 24 hours in advance, right? Or when realistic
Correct.
or anything like that. So if it's consistently that we're sending out information late, you know, I feel like, and the attorneys will, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong here, but to consistently state that it's improbable for us to be able to send out information 24 hours in advance, you know, I just think that it's, that's something for us to consider. The other piece, on the, I guess it's a question for board members who have just received or re-received the guidelines on elected office and sort of the parameters. What will be the implications for board members who are either speaking about their candidacy or endorsing either candidates or against candidates? What will be the recourse for those board members? What in the guidance that was provided, what's the recourse?
Well, the recourse is either being removed from the board or paying some kind of fine.
And is the board aware that action has been taken, or it's just something that takes place between the individual and the borough president's office? Because I think
The
we've had some
matter-
people walking pretty close to the line. I'm just curious what the line is and when we know, you know, that we've collectively crossed it.
Have you seen the material from the borough president?
I have
thought it was
not.
sent to the entire board.
I'm sure it has, but in the last couple of days, I have not been able to review it.
I thought it went out last week or the week before. I will get you the information, and at the moment, I could look it up, but we'll get back to this. Just be aware, and we'll all be aware now, that if someone speaks on behalf of a candidate at a board meeting or uses board facilities in any way, this is a violation. It should be noted that a couple of years back, a deputy borough president from the Bronx was charged with having done exactly this. Well, can we get back to the question of crossing the line
So,
with respect to representing versus discussing?
well, I see there's a hand up. I mean, I'll put my hand up as well.
Rosemary?
Yes, just on what Margaret raised as an issue, you know, in its simplest terms, Margaret, let's put it, take a board meeting out of it. If any member of the community board goes to a rally and says, I am a member of Community Board 8 and I support this candidate, that's outside the community board, not allowed, not allowed. I was thinking, I'm interpreting maybe what your question was about, and I apologize for doing that. My suggestion to the chair is, you remember we had that wonderful gentleman come and talk to us about certain issues and answer questions. Maybe if this is an issue, the borough president has given us a ton of information. If this is an issue that is causing community board members to be concerned, want to do the right thing, maybe it's time to bring him back. That's my suggestion to the chair. But Margaret, I'm glad you raised this and your confusion, because it can be confusing, but okay, I'll stop. Thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, no, just getting to your point, in going through your materials, the distinction I see, and it's kind of a fine one. It's basically there, it seems to be that there's an absolute prohibition that they're saying here, and what they have highlighted. She appeared in her capacity as an employee of the Armory Foundation. And based upon whatever discussion they had, she was appearing in that capacity. She wasn't simply, she was directly or indirectly there to represent the Armory Foundation. And I think that's where she kind of overstepped the bounds. She shouldn't have been appearing in any capacity for that foundation.
Okay, the word is appearing, but the question I'm raising and raised to them, if I am employed by an organization for which the community board has a discussion, has a purpose, finding me out of order, complaining to the city government about me, whatever, and I speak, but I tell you, I'm an employee, does that save me? Where have I crossed the line between, an employee? I mean, the question here is intent. I intended to come to that meeting and speak as an employee, and therefore I'm a representative.
Well, in your specific, instance, do you have, or are you there with authority to speak for that company or organization or employer?
That's an interesting difference. Okay. Well, we have
I'm going
members of
through
our
what-
boards for whom there are these kinds of conflicts. We have a number of people who belong to these kinds of organizations who stand up and say, I have a conflict, I'm present, ineligible to vote, but I feel strongly about X, and they're free to do that. Aren't they?
It would seem like they are. Marty, what are the 3 Ds?
Discuss, disclose, discuss, don't vote.
I think that's what she probably did.
I'm thinking she did too. It's presumed here the entire board knew that she was an employee of the Armory Foundation. Unless she went beyond making her statement and then continue to try and sway people based on her position.
Yeah, I wonder if she actually made a presentation. When we say disclose, discuss, it is possible that you can be part of a conversation. But if she showed up and said, I'm here for ABC and want to make a presentation about the benefits of ABC, I don't think that's appropriate.
Now, I
If
think
there's a
she crossed the
conversation
line.
that's going on amongst board members, maybe the disclosure would allow her to discuss it as a peer. But I think her making a presentation representing ABC might suggest undue influence on the process.
Well, just Marty, maybe it's
Go
helpful to kind of,
ahead.
I was going to say, is it helpful to go through those facts again that you'd sent us? I mean, it's very brief. And a part of it might be the position that she had, which was in Manhattan of CB 12, which covers the neighborhoods of Inwood and Wash Heights, She also works as the Chief Administrative Officer and the Community Liaison for the Armory Foundation.
The question here is whether or not she's a primary beneficiary of what she is discussing. So that she has a vested interest, personal vested interest in the outcome beyond being an employee.
But I don't understand if the 3 Ds are disclose, discuss, don't vote, then again, unless it was a secret, even if she earned a salary from the foundation and the foundation was poised to be interfered with, restricted, scrutinized in a way that she didn't want, as long as she identified her interest, seems to me that she would be okay.
And it also seems, I mean, Dan made the point, was she acting when she spoke, was she speaking on behalf of the foundation? I mean, was she authorized to speak on behalf of the foundation, or was she just, speaking as a board member? And the facts don't really make it clear, I think.
No.
The information I sent out, I thought was clearer. But this is not what happened here. The community board member appeared before her community board in her capacity as an employee of the Armory Foundation. So that's what Paul just said. She didn't have a casual conversation. By the way, these are my feelings, even though I have a conflict. She said, I am here to advise you on the appropriate thing to do, even though I'm an employee. I'm just suggesting this is a very narrow line, and we need to know, at least for the benefit of our board members, is exactly how far they can go without getting into trouble.
That's exactly the point, Marty. That's exactly the point. What happened in this situation, one can scratch their head. I understand it, but others don't. I understand that too. We're here only to take care of our members. So yes, I'm going to reiterate, it would be good to bring to the committee the people who make these decisions so that we can talk to the intricacies of all of the issues. Only for one reason, because we're here for our members. And that's our goal, not to adjudicate whether this was right or wrong, but to assist our members. So again, I'm going to ask, I think we should have somebody come and talk to the committee.
Okay, I will contact Jeff, ask him to this time attend our meeting as opposed to zoom in on our meeting. And you're right. My issue is primarily to protect our membership. Lisa?
I think Dan had his hand up first. Or, yeah.
First.
No.
Lisa?
Okay, I'll go. I don't know if this is the same thing, but I'm just wondering, as a shareholder in a co-op, let's say there's an issue that affects your building with the city, I assume we're allowed to represent our own interests and our neighbors' interests, or does that cross the line as well? Or can you just say, I live here, so this is of interest to me?
Well, obviously, under 3Ds, you can do that. I happen to be a resident of this building. This is how I feel, but I have a vested interest, and therefore I will not vote. That's different than what this is.
Shouldn't we be able to vote as we live here? We're supposed to represent our neighbors too. As
every one of us has a vested interest in something. I own a house around the corner, but you can vote.
You can't vote.
You can.
You can vote.
Yes.
You can't. Okay, thank you.
I live in that building. I own the building. You cannot vote. But if I'm a neighbor, I certainly can vote. That's the whole concept of community boards.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that one of the things that's disturbing about the ruling, again, all I have is ethical times, Marty. So if you send something else, I forgot or missed it. I just have the ethical times blurb, which is tiny and says very little. But you know, the expertise that people bring, the involvement in the community, is something that I think would be a benefit to a committee or a board. Again, as long as people are informed of that person's interest in the outcome, I
Yes.
think it's kind of odd for them not to. I mean, we have at least one person on the board who's a member of the Bronx something on environmental quality, which is a respected group. And, you know, I think Karen is a member of this group or founded it. And that dovetails with a lot of the time with the work of the Environment and Sanitation Committee, but we wouldn't want those people to be silent when issues come up that are common.
I think the line is drawn at financial interest, personal financial interest.
Marty, let's get somebody here who can talk to the committee
I'm
about,
gonna follow, I'm gonna
Okay.
follow up on that, yes. So we're gonna table this again. I find that sad. To answer your question, Steve, last week, I sent out Financial Times, but about 3 weeks ago, I sent out the backup material that Jeff Tremblay sent me concerning not only this situation, but a second one similar to it. And again, I guess folks haven't read it. Okay, having said that again,
I don't think we got those things that you asked the board, the office to send out. I didn't.
well, I know I was on Tanya on this, and I know she sent it out.
I got them and I did have a chance to read them. So I know at least I received them, so.
Okay, the ballot questions, which so much excites Rosemary. 3 ballot questions.
Marty, it takes a lot more than that to excite me, okay?
I'm gonna stay back from that. Sorry, I even said the words.
Yes.
Hi, Rosemary.
I meant insight, you.
Well, insightful is, oh, never mind. I don't want to go further.
No,
Ballot questions.
don't. You made a mistake, step back, go forward now. Mhm.
Ballot question, I'm trying. Ballot question number 1. Add a statement of values to the guide government. I think a word is missing from here. Proposal will amend the New York City Charter. Now, I happen to like this phrase. We're going to see this over and over again. I'm going to mention it over and over again. The city charter seemed to be the document after the public voted on it. Thank you, it's done. This is the charter. But month after month, the city council are voting resolutions to amend the city charter. So I'm wondering how this is so easy for them to do after getting a charter passed in the first place was not so easy to do. Amend the charter to add to a preamble. It says add a preamble, which would be introductory statement of values and visions to a just and equitable city for all. And then the question, shall this proposal be adopted? Now that Rosemary has got me upset, not sure we can discuss this. They want to establish an office of racial equity, a racial equity office plan and commission. And then finally, ballot 3, require the city to create a true cost of living measure to track the actual cost in New York City of meeting essential needs, including housing, food, childcare, transportation, the necessary costs. I mean, none of these to me are out of bounds. I don't know what issue, I don't know what people object to this, if there's any movement to object to them. But if anybody wants to say anything, I won't tell the COG or COIB that you said it. Rosemary?
I think this is a good start to educate the community. That's what we can do, educate the community as to what will be on the ballot. The one thing I would add, if you read this, understand this is just a press release. We have no information from the city government whatsoever about the full extent of the ballot question. We only have, what we have is little snippets. What would you call them? That just, whatever you call them, right? It's a proposal, a measured, okay, so little snippets. I think it would be a valuable effort for our community, for education purposes, to get the full description of what it is. So go back to, just pile down to question one or question two, just okay. So a ballot that it has in quotes, aspiring toward a justable and equitable city for all. Oh, that's a quote from what's going to be on the ballot, okay? And include in the statement, here's another past and wouldn't it be nice to have the entire thing instead of snippets from something? Again, not that we're in favor, opposed, or want to amend, but in terms of educating our community, wouldn't it be nice to have, I hate quotes. I'd like to have the whole context, right? So that we can share and educate our community on what it fully is. So that's my statement. I hate, this is all we have, because this is all de Blasio gave us. But these quotes come from something else, and it would be good to have the something else. My only point. Okay, I'm done. Thank you, Marty.
The issue was raised by SCREE, a special committee on racial equity, that every board committee should be looking into or focusing on some of the racial equity needs of the district in general. And so is your suggestion, and I fully agree, that knowing that these are coming up and using the word education, we want to educate the community that these ballot issues are coming up. I agree also. I will research and see if I cannot find the full, not the question, but the full ballot proposal. You're right. These are cherry picked, what they want to imply rather than what may actually be, which is not unusual.
Marty, they
I'm gonna
had
move.
in your papers, it said that they were going to have a forums in all the boroughs to enlighten all of us as to what they really mean. That hasn't started yet. It's only March. We aren't going to vote on it until November. It depends on whether they actually put something in place.
Correct. Okay, so I will seek to provide more information.
And Marty, is Margaret Della still on the call? I think her committee had a speaker at their committee who was somewhat knowledgeable on these ballot proposals. Margaret, is she still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, so Margaret, you had a speaker that was knowledgeable about these and spoke to your committee. Would that be helpful? How do we, was it helpful? Okay, I'll stop.
I mean, yes, she works for the commission, so she was speaking just on a personal position. So she walked through some of the proposals with us at the last SCREE meeting. But with the administrative transitions, we haven't been able to get anyone from the committee or from the commission itself. But we certainly could.
That answer your question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just thinking that, well, okay, that between SCREE and law, rules and ethics, I think, Margaret, you agree that educating our community board members and the community in general as to these proposals is a good thing, right? That's a good thing. We're not allowed to say we're in favor or opposed or anything, but it's a good thing. And maybe we can jointly figure out the best way to do that. Yes, you, okay.
Okay, again, I will look into the full language and try and get it out to you for the next meeting. Latest COB dispositions, I sent out Ethical Times. I don't know if you noted, it had a puzzle, a Wordle type puzzle, which I solved and sent in. I don't know if I'm gonna win or where they're gonna send me if I win, if anywhere. Here the word post-employment appearance, the word appearance seems definitely understandable. Someone who left the employ of the Board of Ed and got involved with a outside agency and then approached the Board of Ed, Department of Education, on behalf of, or made an appearance before DOE supporting this Boricua, which I hope anyone will help me pronounce.
Boricua.
Say it again?
Boricua.
Boricua. Okay, representing Boricua, and as so doing, that was an actual appearance. That was not a question of DDD, that was a question of appearance. Misuse of city position. Strangely, my daughter works for this agency. She didn't know the details. She know the commissioner left. Didn't know what the circumstances were. But here is a guy who I try to use his office, going back to the question of what is, what's undue influence using our community board offices. Well, this commissioner contacted another commissioner asking for assistance for somebody that he was trying to support for a position. He got turned down, but the point was he was using his position as a commissioner of ACS to influence a commissioner, Department of Finance. So not allowed. So he was informed and ended up having to pay, well, I don't know, it doesn't say what he had to pay. I know he lost his job. That's enough. New York City legislative spreadsheet. First, I said this phrase, it appears at least 21 times in the full spreadsheet that I sent out. What I have here, and I'll go through very quickly, is an amended one where I only highlighted those things I thought were important. And then what, and given the time, and I want to spend a lot of time in the next issue. This I found interesting. Local law to amend administrative code of the city of New York, prohibiting employees from posting job listings without listing minimum and maximum salary information. But I want to go down to the one, where is it? I don't see it, but there are 3 lines here dedicated to the question of outside, this one right here is for an education. Sylvia, I didn't know that was required to separate out dyslexic kids within certain districts. I thought the movement was to try and integrate kids, not separate them. So there was something else about asking the, here, right here, asking the governor to sign a bill authorizing courses of study in Holocaust within the state. I thought that was done in the city years ago. So I don't understand that one at all. Where's the one I was looking for? Looking, this was put in by Priya Anna Sanchez. Isn't she our new city council rep? Wow, where's the one I'm looking for?
I think you just had it.
No, there are 3 of them. 2 were already enacted. No.
Marty, can you just speak to them rather than finding the finite text?
Okay, the issue at hand is, as we discussed and Rosemary brought up, the question is changing the rules concerning outdoor restaurants. Let me see if I can find it this way. The first one, let's just try that. I'm not doing well. Okay. There are 3 of them. The first 2 talk to the already passed dissolution of the previously known rules concerning outdoor cafes. That city council passed, and so those current rules no longer exist. The second one, I don't remember immediately offhand the exact wording, but the third one is the important one, which is the one that we're still concerned about. But what are the new rules? Oh, I like this one. Public urination is no longer a no longer a minor offense. They're not going to be looking, it is a minor offense, and I can look into it and amend the city charter. Eric Denowitz wants to amend the New York City Charter so that the ballot proposal and referenda in the voter's guide are now, should include non-municipal offices. I'm not sure exactly what he has in mind. They want to change the name of Rikers Island. I have no idea who Riker was or what's wrong with an island. I'm sure I can't find it. But again, there are 3 of them, and I'm just, so if you look through my color-coded, you'll come across it, or try what I just tried to do and didn't do very well because I'm terrible on the computer. RESTAURANT, restaurant. No, that's not it. Okay, end of discussion. But let's get to what I hope to spend the most time on. And that was this idea of rules. And I hope you've all had a chance to review and prepared to make comment on the draft that I sent out. I would look forward to hearing comments from anyone.
I'm sorry, Marty, you've lost me now. What exactly are we addressing right now?
I'm ready to scream. That's what we're addressing. The 2 months I sent out my guidelines, which are a draft for us to comment on, to decide whether or not this is appropriate, inappropriate, needs to be added to, or whatever. with respect to rules for conduct of our meetings. And for 3 months, nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm rather distressed by that.
I've not seen this, Marty. Not received it.
No one's seen anything, okay? I keep sending it out and I keep asking you, the very first comment up here. Very first comment was, please read it before you come to today's meeting. And if you don't know what I was talking about, please contact me.
Marty, I didn't receive it.
I think
Well,
it may have
I-
only been sent to the members of the committee, David.
I'm a member of the committee.
Okay,
Anybody see the agenda with this note on top?
yep.
Well, Marty, so I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
No, go ahead, Paul, and I'll follow up right after.
I mean, look, I have a general comment that I've made before that, you know, it again, you know, the committee will choose however it wants to go with this, but I had felt that it might be useful to provide, you know, at least a basic set of rules, you know, that committees, the committee chairs don't need to use them, but, you know, a template that they could choose to use, that would be, you know, set up by this committee. So there's something that they can say, okay, we're using, like, you know, the standard rules is whatever. I mean, wherever it appears and however it's, you know, so that it seems to me that if we provided something, it would be more likely that there would be some rules that would in fact be put in place instead of just sort of ad hoc, or I fear that at times it just wouldn't happen at all and no rules would be established.
Does item number 2 reflect any of that?
Well, I mean, yeah, item number 2 basically, you know, instructs the committee chairs that they are free to handle as they wish. I mean, look, as a practical matter, do we believe that at the start of each meeting, the chairs are going to go through and identify, okay, here are the rules that govern govern this meeting?
I think they should.
They should.
Who said that? Who said that?
Kelly Buford.
Okay, thank you.
They should. I'm concerned whether they will, and I'm just, I felt, thinking back on my experience as a committee chair, if there was like a standard set of rules that I could say, okay, we're using the standard rules, to me that might get to a better level of compliance, but I may be the only one who feels that way. So
I just make 2 comments. First of all, this first paragraph, this came from the Committee on Open Government, which strongly recommends, I like the word strongly, which recommends that all public bodies have a set of rules. And it's important for us, and it's come up a number of times this year, that when community members come to a meeting, they ought to know if they can speak, when they can speak, how long they can speak. And that should be announced in advance, and that everyone be treated equally. So some people don't speak forever because no one set rules, and others be shut off or shut down. So I've tried doing this, and I know I sent it out, and I know because I saw it when Tanya sent it out, and I'm terribly distressed that I'm talking to myself right now.
Marty,
Yes.
it's Kelly. with respect to item 2, if you can scroll up, please, so I can see it on your screen versus on my screen. I think the first sentence of item 2 is sort of counter to what the objective we're trying to achieve. I think if we just started with the second sentence and leave the second sentence as number 2, that would get us to a better consensus among the chairpersons, because chairs are going to, everyone is an individual and they're going to run a meeting based on their own style, because everybody has a different personality, right? And they know their own cadence. But I think leaving that in, the first sentence in, is actually counter to what we're trying to our objective.
I'm not sure I fully understand.
Well, if we're saying committee chairs run meetings in their own style, that's a given. We're all individuals, right?
Correct.
So I don't think having that sentence in there adds any value to what we're trying to do. I think the second sentence in that paragraph, I think that it would just be fine to start with that these are guidelines offered as suggestions.
Oh, okay. And now I got you. Okay. So it's the first 6, 7 words you want out. You're
Correct.
suggesting
The
out.
first sentence of the second paragraph under general principles. Yes.
Okay. Whoops.
No, wrong sentence.
My mouse is alive. Sorry.
Bravo.
Dan?
Oh, okay. So look, I think part of the thing that is getting lost here is why this issue kind of came out. And it's really, making sure that the public has an opportunity to engage in meetings. And I'm just going to make, a couple of quick points. On number 6, at any point, the chair may call for a motion to close debate. It's not just the chair who can do that. It's any member of the committee or the body can make that motion. And I think it kind of points to the bigger issue of in these meetings. While the chair certainly lays out the agenda and the chair is there to kind of guide the meeting along and keep it moving, it's really the body that controls, right? It's the committee members. So if the committee members want that debate to continue, the committee members can keep that debate continuing by a vote of the committee. What we're really looking for, and number 5 kind of brings out, we're looking for people to be treated equally, fairly and equally. And quite frankly, for private agendas of any individual running a meeting to be set aside. I think where we get in trouble the most, and I could certainly say, I've probably been there over the years myself, is that when one chair is passionate about a topic, sometimes they end up debating with its members rather than guiding a meeting along. And I think that's probably some of the things that we need to get out. Look, I've done it myself. And, I over the years, I've tried to get better with it and just let the meetings go. But it's really that equal treatment in meetings, and really chairs understanding their role is to guide the meeting along and to bring debate out. And I think if we're going to put out guidelines or rules, those are some of the things that we really need to get out there. These principles. It's the committee that controls, not the chair. The chair's role is to guide the meeting, not to set out a private agenda or to debate members. Get the topics out there, let people speak. Those are the things that I really want to see. And that the committee, the body always has the power. It's not the chair. And I'll end there for now.
Rosemary?
Oh, am I next? I thought Camelia was next. Okay. Let's see. just to comment on some of the things that have been written, the committee meetings should not be personality driven. It is not that committee chairs should not run the meetings in their own style. That is not what they should do. They need to abide by Robert's Rules of Order. And maybe that's where we're failing. Maybe we have not, the Law, Rules, and Ethics Committee, done a better job in describing Robert's Rules of Order to whoever becomes chair of any committee. That is what needs to govern. So you take, for instance, the last point 6. At any point, a chair may call a motion to close the debate. First of all, the chair of the committee should never be the person who makes the motion to close the debate. Somebody else should be making that motion. And that motion, now let's look at Robert's Rules. That motion is very, very significant. Even Robert's Rules says closing a debate is a big issue when it comes to public meetings. And they say it takes a 2/3 vote. We know we're not able to do 2/3 vote, but it is a significant, significant vote to close debate. The chair of the committee cannot do that. It is up to the committee. So I guess I go back to maybe we are not doing a good enough job to train committee chairs as to what Robert's Rules of Order are, because if you just hug and adore Robert's Rules of Order, every meeting will be fine. Everyone won't
Nonsense.
be happy, but they will be fine because they dictate an organized meeting. So thank you. I'm done.
I can't disagree with you more. Robert's Rules
Okay,
is an
great.
assist.
Okay.
It's not the Bible. It doesn't tell you what to do and when. It helps you to conduct an even meeting. Camelia?
Yes, I mean, honestly, I just wish Dan would be recorded in perpetuity and somehow transcribing in these things, because it is true. Oh, Marty, by the way, you're never speaking to yourself. I'm paying so much attention, like you have no idea. Dear all, I mean, this issue is very relevant because there are members of this board that are full members of committees that feel like they are barely able to even speak. They're like, I am supposed to be extremely grateful for being awarded a chance to ask a question. And I mean, after significant struggles in a committee where my male colleagues or colleagues, I don't know, in better favors with the chair of the committee can just interrupt at ease, speak as many times as they want, etc., etc. I mean, there is a need to spell down clear rules to tell chairs your committee members have priority in discussing a topic. Second, community board members also present have second priority. And then, yes, only after in the third place is the public. I'm begging all of you to please review those slides that I sent to Laura, to Bob. Martin, I know that you are there on the state presentation on open meetings laws. They very clearly articulate that the public is there, yes, and has the right to take a position, but this is a committee of the members. I went to a committee meeting where the excuse that was given for forbidding me to ask a question as a full committee member was that, oh, the chair thought he was at a town hall. He was not at a town hall. He was at a committee meeting. I'm entitled to engage in fact-finding. And Marty, you have a paragraph somewhere where you kind of drafted, maybe not what we have now in the screen, but you kind of drafted the expectations. Dear all, please put something in writing and please educate the board chairs that they have to treat everybody equally, because everybody does not feel like they're being treated equally. This is important what you're discussing right now. So only this on this, I agree with everything Dan said and Rosemary said. One more thing, the issue of open meetings law. I mean, you will hate me much more than you hate me right now. The non-compliance is across the board, and it's an issue between the exec and the office and who directs whom. But we cannot keep hiding behind this practicability issue that we like so much. I mean, it's one thing that it's not practical once, twice, 3 times, but continuously somebody will come and call us responsible. And I want to raise everybody's awareness on it. I mean, on this meeting and then on all future meetings. Thank you so much.
Karen, just point of information, Camelia is not a member of this committee and I allowed her to speak. And so your premise in your email that no one else can speak at these meetings is incorrect. Case in point. Anybody else? Steve?
Yeah, I just, I will admit that these have been circulated at least 3 times. You're right, Marty. And I've taken the opportunity during tonight's discussion to scrutinize them. And I think they come so close to what the practice that I've utilized myself when I've run meetings at the board, as well as what I've generally observed in board meetings. And I think that if there is a wish or will to do any sort of codification like this, I think these are splendid, especially the general rules with the cascade of preference for speaking and the like. And so I just think that this really does it. I mean, I'm sure could be a word changed here and there, but I find them to be clear and complete. Just in very quick response to Dan's point, I think Dan's point about a chair not injecting oneself too much personal views into how the committee is run and how the meeting is run and how speakers are limited or encouraged. I think that's true, but I don't think it belongs in this sort of a codification that talks about how you actually organize the meeting. I think it's totally true and it's a good point. I just don't think this is the place for it. I think you're really describing how does one be a good chair of whatever committee, board, et cetera, if you're running a meeting. And I don't see it as something for this, but I'm sure it could always be added. And very briefly, in response to Rosemary, I don't read number 6 the way Rosemary did in terms of Robert's rules. This says at any point a chair may call for a motion, not make a motion, not introduce a motion. And maybe it's just that I haven't been attentive, but it seems to me that it's a commonplace for chairs to say the following: do I hear a motion? That kind of thing. And then if no one in the committee wants that to happen, or there's no second, or the committee itself doesn't want to vote by majority vote, that debate end, for example, then that's fine. And then we're back to Dan's point, which is the committee ultimately makes the final decision about things if there's disagreement. But in the first instance, in 95% of the cases, administering a meeting is not something which is up for grabs and votes, or else we would get nowhere. It relies on the leadership of chairs. So I don't think there's anything problematic about 6. Thanks.
Who was just speaking, Marty?
Steve Fruit.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
I don't know where we're going, if anywhere, with this tonight. But I thank you, Steve, for pointing out that it's been distributed more than once.
Marty, I'm sorry. I just went through my files.
David?
I went through my emails. I have not received this once. I don't know whether it came from you or from the board office.
Comes
But
from
I
the
do-
board
Board
office.
office. It
Okay,
was sent out immediately after, a second time, immediately after the last board meeting, which is February 14th.
David, if you search for Marty's name, you'll come up with the emails where the board office sends it on behalf of Marty Walpole.
I will look. Thank you.
And by the way, the February 3rd of 2022 at 12:49 p.m. is when the longer version, the actual decision was circulated with regard to that COIB thing.
Okay, thank you again. Okay, but I don't seem to be getting further. I just want you to know that Sergio made 3 suggestions to the board chair, and I've not commented on them at all. I wonder how they sit with you based upon some of the comments that were made tonight. Just out of curiosity. I've already noted to you, I personally do not like item number 2.
I-
I don't see the reason for number 3.
I agree.
I agree is whom?
Kelly.
Kelly, thank you, Kelly. Stevie, your hand up again?
Yeah, you asked for comments on Sergio's suggestions. I just, my reactions, starting with the ones that have been addressed, I think that the list of guidelines already addresses number 3. General rules, number 5, sets the cascade of who can speak at a meeting or who should be able to speak, and that includes, as I read it, board member questions that follow up, that come after committee member questions. As to number 2, I think it's subject to abuse and a lot more paper generated. I think it's important that people speak live to issues, so I don't really favor written comments for a body like this. And as to number 1, I think I can't even imagine how number 1 would be administered. If this is supposed to represent a pro and con every other speaker, it would be often pretty difficult to administer. So I think a sign-up list that just has people signing up to speak, if it's that kind of a meeting, and not necessarily deciding which category they're in. People might be speaking for and against on different aspects of an issue. So I find 1 completely unworkable.
Camilla, I saw your hand. I didn't see your hand go down. Is it up for now?
No, apologies.
Okay, Lisa?
Right. Well, actually, what I was going to say is the same as Steve said. Number 2, I mean, we know that minutes are not supposed to be a quote, quotes in minutes, and we certainly shouldn't include, written statements in minutes. It's just inappropriate. And it's like we could have a whole stack of papers with any minutes. And I agree. I don't know how you could actually make the pro and con format work in real life. So that's it.
Paul?
Yeah, at this point, there's not much more to be said because I agree with Steve and with Lisa, particularly with reference to point 2. I see that as being especially problematic. With respect to 1 and 3, I don't believe that's 3 is a matter, it's not a matter for the board to pass a rule. And 1, I agree is problematic, especially the types of debates that the types of issues and comments that we get.
Thank you. Before calling on David, I just want to add to the concept. I've been spoiled when I worked down at Central Board of Ed. I used to go to Central Board of Ed meetings, and the agendas that were sent out for board meetings for Department of Education, Board of Education, were pages and pages and pages long with contract references and things concerning disciplinary action and other things that the Board of Ed was involved in. And so I say that took pages. You got a little phone book every month of what the Board of Ed agenda was. And when you got the minutes, it was on half a page. Items 1 through 7 approved unanimously. Item 3 approved 4 against, well, they were not members, 4 against 5. or 5 against 4, or that was the extent of the minutes. What they accomplished, what they did, no comments about who spoke and what they said. David?
Yes, if we were to approach something like number 2 about written statements, they would have to be clearly identified as submitted after the fact by board member Smith. And were not part of the discussion during the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, your hand is still up, or you have something else? Hand is down, okay.
Marty, is the proposal that these
Uh,
guidelines be incorporated into the ethical guidance manual?
Which, my suggestions? Or Sergio?
No, your draft, the draft for discussion purpose.
Where they actually get placed could be in the EG ethical guidance manual, or could be in the procedural manual. But once we decide what we want to say, we'll worry about where we're putting it. But I want to note also, Karen's here. Karen wrote me an email. And I made some comments in response to her. I never responded to Sergio, other than telling him I'd raise it tonight. Board members work hard. I saw it as 3 things. Karen, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, when I saw the agenda this morning, I just said, oh, I have a few things to say. And so what I was saying is that, things should be clear on the agenda, and that should be what's discussed. I mean, you're talking about resolutions, but from the committee's point of view, if people want to attend committees and speak, they really need to know what exactly is on the agenda. And that, if there's any kind of new business, it should be brought up later, because nobody really knows about it, and it shouldn't be decided unless it has to be disposed of, like a complaint or something like that. And then I don't know what the third one is. Can you roll it down? Okay, that people should speak to the issues. A lot of times it's not even that the conversation keeps going, it's that they're just talking. And so the chairs need to make sure that people comment on what they're talking about is either a question for something that was provided, or their comments on the issue before them, which those things are all like Robert's rule stuff. I just thought I would just put them in writing. And I think if some of these rules were followed, you could probably limit a meeting to an hour or 2 hours, and not some meetings who go on for many more hours later than that. Thank you.
And thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hold Karen's thing in the background for the moment. It strikes me that I'm gonna have to send this out for the 4th time, since nobody seems to want to, shouldn't say nobody, very few people wish to read it in advance and address where we should be going, if at all.
Marty, it seems like a lot of people have looked at it now. Maybe we ought to think about a vote to see if we want to send this to the board to be adopted, if that's the right rulemaking approach.
I ask that you not. I assure you, I've gone through my files now. I have never seen this before. I looked all over February 14th and 15th, see nothing of Marty. You and I can talk about this later or tomorrow, but there's clearly, I've never received this. Any of those 3 times.
So hold on a second. Let's see. This was the March 3rd, right? At 2:53. Was that the one? LRE forward. Let me just see. David, are you in front of your computer? David? Gelman?
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted. Oh, okay.
March 3rd at 2:53 PM was the last time it went around.
David, I have like three.
Hang
email
on,
addresses.
hang on. Let me just get to there.
No, I was gonna just forward it to you. I have three email addresses for you. One has a .nyc, the other has a
.nyc.
All right, so I'm forwarding you
I'm
the-
looking at March 3rd at what time?
2:53 PM.
Okay, there, I have nothing for that time.
So David, I just forwarded you the email from that time. I don't know if you're in front of your computer, but if you could check.
Yes, as I said, yes, I am. I'm looking at my inbox now.
Okay.
Though my guess is that it just came from CB8 with no addressees.
That's correct.
Okay. That's something that Marty, you and I probably should talk about with the office.
Did you receive the one I just sent you?
No. And I've just checked my spam folder as well.
Yeah, so I sent it to the .nyc and to the .me.
Okay, now I got something from you. 3 attachments. And this was March 3rd at 2:53.
I'm just concerned that you got the attachment, so you're good for next month.
Yes, thank you, Dan. But I'm just looking back. No, see, this is actually something I asked the office to do, is to actually identify who these things are being sent to. I understand the concern about sending out too many email addresses and they're being used, but when it's strictly amongst us, the email addresses should be used. I have never seen this before.
No comment.
Beg your
So,
pardon?
No comment. Once again, this is being tabled.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention right down here after I did the city council spreadsheet, I spoke with Eric Denowitz and I've invited him. We haven't arranged on a specific date yet, but I'd like him to talk us through what this calendar actually means and what it feels like on the inside. I thought that might be helpful.
That's
at least to
great.
me. And Eric agreed. Okay, having said all of that, I'm down to, where am I?
By the way,
Old
all
business,
please
new
delete the
business.
.me version.
What about your Netscape version, David?
That's the underlying account, the Netscape or the .nyc. Those will work. The .me.
I just sent it to your Netscape.
Okay.
And I'm presuming, since I received responses from you, that you've gotten my emails from today.
Regarding Riverdale Avenue?
Yes,
Yes, you and I have conversed back and forth on that.
that's why I'm assuming you got it.
Okay.
Anything under old business, new business?
Marty, I just stepped away for a moment. What did we do with the Sergio request? I'm sorry, I stepped away for a minute.
Laid it over.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
more that we laid out, we think we discussed Sergio to death already, but we laid over the whole issue of these rules for next month with the great prayer that we get to finish it up next month.
I
I don't want this to
Uh-huh.
become a permanent stain on our lives that we can't wash off.
It's just my only concern, Marty, is that Sergio raised these issues at the executive committee, and the chair of our board knew them. And did they get sent to Law Rules and Ethics for consideration, or
Yes,
this is my
I
only
request
concern, is
them,
they were
and I-
going to wind up with a resolution at the board with, okay.
No, they will
Did
not.
it,
And now I'll respond to Sergio that we've discussed it and some of our thinking. Any old business, any new business? And in spite
Steve,
of what Rosemary.
By the
in
way,
spite
Steve,
of
I
what-
got yours.
Thanks.
Marty, do me a favor and stay on. Don't hang up.
Okay, and in spite of what Rosemary said earlier, I will request if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn.
No, I will be glad. I'm sorry, Marty. Why are you so snarky? What, I don't understand. So
Well-
I'll be glad to make a motion to adjourn, but I want to say something before. Paul, farewell in what you're doing. Farewell and stay part of our community.
Thank you, Rosemary, and thank you all. And I commend you all for your continued service for the community. And we all know what it takes, and I absolutely respect it.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Just before we close off, the next meeting is April 11th, and I'm presuming at this moment it'll be in person, though it might not be. There's so many people holding out that we might still be able to Zoom.
Got my fingers crossed.
But I don't know where. But I want to put out there a question. If we're meeting in person, is 7 o'clock still reasonable, or we want to push back to 7:30?
I would prefer
7
7.
is fine.
Steve, you started saying?
If everyone's going to their offices, or if they're employed, someplace far away from Community Board 8, 7:30 is better, but under present circumstances, with people not going into the office, if that's what they would ordinarily do, then 7 is fine for us,
Is anyone objecting to 7 o'clock? Hearing none. Next meeting is April 11th, possibly in person, possibly on Zoom at 7 p.m. Having said that, best wishes to Paul, and meeting is adjourned.
Paul, good luck.
Okay.
you.
Thank you all.
Phenomenal.
Paul. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Paul.
Paul.
Take care.
Marty?
I'm still here.
Oh, good. Do me a
He's all-
favor, could you locate the email that you probably sent on March 2nd or March 3rd to the board, asking them, board office, asking them to forward it to me, to us? Can you find that in your sent folder?
Okay, hold on.
Probably March 2nd or March 3rd.
Okay, in my sent folder.
To
Okay.
BX08.
Let's see, oh, come on. Wrong section, minutes. No, that's not it.
Actually, it's more likely to have been March 3rd, morning, late morning or afternoon.
Okay. Attached distribution that was sent following February 14. I believe that it's self-explanatory to answer. Okay, what do you want me to see?
The email that you sent to the office to ask them to distribute it to us.
Hi, Kara. Attached to the distribution that was sent following my February 14th meeting. I believe it is all self-explanatory. To answer your question, the remaining item in the link is the mayor's commission. It's for the mayor's commission. Thank you. And then I know Tanya was going to be out for the vacation. I don't know her return date. Okay, and then there is the February 16th memo that I sent out at 9:50.
No. On around March 2nd or March 3rd, it probably had a subject of material for upcoming LRE meeting.
then wouldn't be in sent.
Why? Because you sent it to the board office,
Okay, hold on.
asking them to send it to us. You may have
March
sent it to
LRE.
Kira.
Okay, March LRE agenda. Attached, please find the agenda for my March LRE meeting. On top of the agenda is a note that is part of the agenda. It is to go out to the LRE committee members and whomever else. Indicates that I wish the office to resend the email that was distributed by the office following my February meeting. Among other things, it consists of material from COIB and the material concerning the November election ballot issues concerning racial equity. I would also like them to receive a copy of Sergio's suggestions for shortening the length of board meetings. Thank you, Marty. Okay, what is it you're looking for?
Okay, so you didn't actually compose this email. You gave her general instructions, which seem to have been followed in terms of the attachments, but well, I'm sorry, what, do me a favor, forward that email to me, and I will check with the office and try to figure out what went wrong.
And you'll notice that I'm still on the call, just so you know. It's Lisa.
We haven't started talking about you yet, so you better be
Well,
careful.
yeah, well, I was wondering whether you were talking about a certain subject that came up briefly and is very important to me, so.
All right,
And if I
I'll
may
sign
ask-
off after this and you two can
If
talk.
I may ask, what is that subject?
Well, actually, it's David and you. There was an email mentioned about Riverdale Avenue plan. And David, I was going to call you about this, but who has the plan? I mean,
Oh, time out. Marty, did you forward that email, the one we were just discussing? Did you forward that to me?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry. I've not heard of anybody having received it. I would imagine it'd be the board office and or Deb Travis. But
Right.
I've not seen it.
and I had asked at an economic development committee when Riverdale Main Street Alliance talked and was there, as a speaker. No one said that they had it, yet we know that Main Street Alliance has it. And I didn't know if any of you through other connections had it. The elected officials said they don't have it, but our understanding is Main Street Alliance has it. So I don't know, apparently you had some conversation or something, just what I picked up on the subject. So, again, David, you were very upset when there were issues going on about Palisades Avenue because you lived right there.
Yeah.
Well, I live right here on 256th Street and Riverdale Avenue. So.
Well, I was upset because a working group was
Mhm.
established, and I'm the only board member who lives within a half mile of it. And I was expressly kicked off, yet two non-board members were put on, but we don't need to relitigate that one.
Right, but so you can understand my position
Oh,
on
yeah.
Riverdale Avenue.
That's fine.
And, so somehow the city is speaking to certain individuals, whether they're members of TNT committee wearing a different hat or the same hat or.
As far as I know, nobody on the committee or the board has seen this plan. I have not.
Were there discussions with DOT? Marty, did you have discussions with DOT? I know Skyview is very involved with this. David, you haven't had discussions?
I have had no discussions, and I know no one who has.
Okay,
Yeah,
so my antenna went off when I heard something about an email about Riverdale Avenue then. Anyway, I
Okay,
must.
so
No,
that's
I-
secret. The discussion is a land use issue, not a DOT issue.
Okay, it's a land use issue. Okay, on Riverdale, that other side of Riverdale.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, the other end, the southern end of Riverdale Avenue, not the northern end.
Okay,
That's why.
Okay.
Okay, that,
okay, so
No.
that's a that note, gentlemen, thank you, and I will say good night.
a quick aside, I got to tell you this story. It's actually pretty funny. Years ago, people in England wanted to boycott McDonald's
Mhm.
because McDonald's was promoting their IRAs for their employees. And the word got out was that McDonald's was supporting IRA.
Oh, no, right. Gotcha.
So the same thing. I understand why your ears perked up, but no, it had nothing whatsoever to do with the northern part.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you both, and I'll probably see you at the in-person.
On this issue, Skyview couldn't care less.
Well, the chairman, the head of your co-op is very involved with this, right? I believe with the Main Street Alliance, right? Yeah, so, okey dokey, gentlemen, have a
Who's
good
that?
night.
Who's your co-op chair that's on Main Street?
I
I
don't remember his name.
I don't know the new chair. I know the old chair, and
That was Chris Rizzo, wasn't it?
No, Chris
Oh.
Rizzo, I don't think lives there, but it's somebody else, yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Lisa. Marty, I did get your email. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call Kira and try to figure out what's gone wrong here. My guess is that somebody was using an old list. But because I'm looking at these attachments and I've, their names and I've never seen them before. Okay, so I'm sorry about that happened. I don't think either of us have responsibility for that. But that's one of the problems you get when you try to be clever and, don't, when you send it from the board office to the board office and BCC everybody, you don't know who it actually goes to.
did you get the March agenda?
The actual agenda, yes. But
Which
not
that-
this material for the upcoming meeting with the 3 attachments that were not the agenda. The meeting rules, the COIB, and the Villa Verde meeting length recommendations. I've never seen those before.
But on the agenda, there's a note up on top which says if you
Not-
haven't gotten these,
Well, not on the agenda reminder today. And I'm just trying to see, hang on a second, if I can find the agenda invitation we got a week or 2 ago. In advance of this meeting.
Kira sent it out.
On March 3rd, I got a meeting notice, and that did not have all that stuff on the top either.
Well, Kira sent it out and she took my memo off. And then I complained and she sent the second one out with that memo on,
Okay.
back on.
I don't know what's happened. I am certainly not blaming you. This is peculiar, but let me do a little research on this with the office tomorrow. Hopefully we can prevent that from happening in the future. But I did make a point to the office a week or 2 ago to tell them to stop doing this BCC stuff because it is dangerous. And I fully understand and respect the concern about not sending out everybody's email address because that creates other problems. But I don't know. Well, anyway, nothing for us to do right now, but thank you for your follow-up right now. That was funny about the thing with Lisa. And I fully understand why why her antenna went up. That makes sense.
Okay,
All righty. So anyway, we're up on for 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, I assume at the Riverdale Avenue side. Is Mark going to get us up to his side of things?
I haven't requested him to do that. I haven't heard from Chuck yet.
Well, I think he was coming back tonight from Florida.
Yes,
I think it would be good if we had the uphill view. I mean, if we're gonna be there for an hour, You may want to talk to Mark and see if there's a way we can get up to the top of the hill to see what's going on.
Okay,
All righty?
shall look into it.
All right.
Okay,
Well, we kept it under 2 hours.
take care.
You too, Marty. Bye-bye.